Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is facing a real political opponent in her district in the primary race. So this is a little bit complicated. But the reason Ocasio Cortez won when she did is because she defeated Joe Crowley in the primary, getting only around 15 or so thousand votes in a district of 750,000. Most people didn't primary. Joe Crowley probably thought he was going to win. He lost. When it comes to the actual election, it's a D+30 district. The Democrats not going to lose. As Nancy Pelosi said, you can put a D on a glass of water in their districts and they're going to win. So here's the real challenge. Cabrera kicks off primary bid against Ocasio Cortez. Now, this is not the first person to actually propose primarying Ocasio Cortez, but it's one of the first local politicians with strong ties to the Democratic Party. Ocasio Cortez has been supporting primarying other moderate Democrats, trying to get moderate and long-standing Democrats removed from their seat. And now she's facing the opposite. Moderate Democrats challenging her, calling out socialism. And this is the real threat. Listen, I believe around seven or so Republicans are going to run against her. But come on, in a D+30 district, do you think they're going to win? Probably not. However, the primary will be the real battle. Ocasio Cortez is raising a ton of money. But as it turns out, according to one report, as far as we know, most of those donations are coming from outside her district. People in New York are very unhappy that she lost them the Amazon deal. She was a leader of some of the protests in the financial district. She led that charge, now she wants to claim it. She had nothing to do with it. It wasn't even her district. It doesn't matter. New Yorkers are upset. And New Yorkers might actually vote her out in the primary. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about who's challenging Ocasio Cortez and why this is a real threat to AOC. Listen, we can talk about Trump and the 2020 election all day and night. I think, look, the Democratic contenders are all fairly weak. Trump's going to win. But here's the thing. The primary challengers that are talking about going up against Trump, they're not going to win. Trump's popular in this country. Ocasio Cortez, that remains to be seen. Her approval rating in her district has gone up and down. I believe it's mostly positive at this point. So we will see. In the end, what really matters is a primary race is substantially different from the actual election. And if these local politicians, this local Cabrera, who has strong ties to the DNC, if he can rally enough local people who don't like socialism, you might even see local Republicans voting for a Democrat if it means knocking out AOC from her congressional seat. I believe this is the first true threat against her congressional seat. Let's read the story before we get started. Head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There's several ways you can do it. There's a PayPal option. But the best thing you can do, share this video. Let's entertain this conversation. Let's talk about whether or not AOC really stands a chance at re-election, because there's good arguments for why she does. Share this video if you want to support me to help me overcome. Look, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, not only are they propped up by YouTube, they have big marketing budgets. I don't have any of that. I just have you guys, if you like it, please share it and tell people why you think the conversation is important. Let's read the story. Politico reports City Council member Fernando Cabrera is launching a primary challenge against Rep. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. The Bronx Democrat and pastor filed with the Federal Election Commission to run for the congressional seat, which spans parts of the Bronx and Queens, and is formally kicking off his campaign today. While a slew of lesser-known Republicans have already launched campaigns against the progressive firebrand, Cabrera becomes the most prominent local Democrat to take her on. Now, here's the thing. There is another Democratic primary challenger, but my understanding is an activist, not someone with political connections. This isn't. So listen. When AOC earlier this year was talking about primarying moderate Democrats, basically betraying the party, I mean, I get it. I can respect wanting to get rid of the establishment cronies and stuff, but you're in the Democrats, like you're in the Democratic Party. They expect you to work with them to pass policy, and she challenges them. So they challenged back. There's a story from The Intercept that the Democrats were planning on setting her up with. They were going to either get rid of her district outright, so she'd have to run somewhere else, or present a moderate challenger. Now, I don't know if this is the DNC establishment fighting back. AOC says it is, but this is a moderate Democrat slamming socialism and saying she's more concerned with her Twitter following and pandering to national level activists instead of her own district and bringing back jobs. Let's read. They say, quote, "Only a Democrat is going to be able to defeat her, And it's going to be a moderate Democrat, Cabrera told Politico. She's a no-show in the district. She hasn't brought about anything except division within the party. I mean, that's a fair criticism. And it is true, the moderate Democrats did resoundingly better in the midterms. Make no mistake, she beat Crowley in the primary because Crowley underestimated her. If Crowley actually tried, if he actually came out and considered her a real challenger, he probably would have won. But AOC and the Justice Democrats specifically outlined this tactic called primarying. They know that people don't turn out for primaries, and that's why AOC won with only around 15,000 votes in a district of 750,000. It's crazy how that works, isn't it? Let's read. He plans to target Ocasio Cortez for her democratic socialist views and opposes her Green New Deal proposal as well as Medicare for all. Socialism doesn't work. I don't want it for my children, for my grandchildren, he said. The council member said he was first inspired to jump into the race after hearing Ocasio Cortez rail against Amazon's planned headquarters in Queens, a plan that was scuttled amid a flood of opposition. Quote, "It was staggering to me," he said of her attacks on the $3 billion in tax break and subsidies the project was set to receive, most of which any company could have received on an as-of-right basis. Basically, here's the thing. It wasn't special. The laws are set up to bring in industry to generate revenue. Ocasio Cortez actually thought, in a statement she said, imagine what we can do with those $3 billion. Whoa. That's a discount, dude. Like, if someone said, I'm going to give you $1 off on a cheeseburger, you can't then go, wow, I have $1. No, it's a discount. You still got to give me the money. She came out, she had no idea. She thought the city was literally giving money to Amazon. They weren't. They needed Amazon to come in, and they offered tax incentives, which mostly already existed. And Amazon would have generated 25,000 jobs. She protested against that. New Yorkers were not happy. Check it out. We have somebody who literally dismantled the possibility of us having 25,000 jobs, and she has yet to bring any jobs into the district. So I looked at the numbers. I don't have them pulled up right now. In the past year, from January 2018 till today, they've gained only a few thousand jobs. It's not bad, okay? So if it comes down to economics, as you know, who's going to win in any race, well, her district's doing slightly better. But then you've got to weigh that to the relativity of losing the 25,000 jobs and how people will perceive this. If people look at the current numbers, you might see a lot of people saying, I don't know anything about that. I got a job. I'm happy. Unemployment is down. Employment is up. However, because of the news, you might have a lot of people saying, we lost jobs because of the potential. You see how the framing is going to be important here. They do mention that Cabrera has courted controversy. Videos surfaced of him with Uganda in Uganda praising the policies of the country's government and other issues. Cabrera pushes back, saying, there are people who want to demonize me because that puts a cloud over my accomplishments. Excuse me. But my track record, I've been very supported every step of the way. Like several of Ocasio-Cortez's Republican challengers, Cabrera lives outside the congressional district, so we'll see how this plays out. The council member has close ties to the Bronx Democratic Party and hopes to court their support. I can't see the party ever endorsing her because her and the Justice Democrats are running people against everybody in the Democratic Party. She doesn't play well with local officials, he added. They'll all tell you exactly the same thing. We can't work with her. She's impossible. Well, here's the thing. AOC has issued a response in a fundraising email. This is from Pix 11, New York local news. Ocasio-Cortez responded in a fundraising email sent out Thursday night. The email refers to Cabrera as a, quote, conservative Democrat and coded this as establishment Democrats looking to get revenge. I wouldn't be surprised if she's right about that. But in the end, you have a Democratic district, heavily Democrat. Democrat's going to win. You bring in someone who's moderate, and you may find that the outrage generated by AOC is going to attract those Republicans. Listen, actually, I'll show you the Ballotopedia info in a second. Let's read the quote. Quote, she says, ever since we defeated Joe Crowley, corporate Democrats have been waiting for their chance to strike back, the email states. Our opponent doesn't play by the same rule book we do. He'll be more than willing to raise huge dollars from wealthy donors, take special interest PAC money, and pander to corporate giants like Amazon. It was very unpopular, AOC, when you lost those jobs from Amazon. While I think Amazon is very, very ripe for criticism, I don't think that's going to play well for the general base. Ocasio-Cortez initially rose to fame, dethroning Crowley from his long-term seat in a primary upset. Meanwhile, several Republicans are trying to win the seat in a heavily Democratic district. Challengers include Ruth Papazian, Miguel Hernandez, Ray Solano, Antoine Tucker, Sherry Murray, and John Cummings are among the challengers from the right. This is huge. I mean, this is a district where my understanding is the past Republican, Anthony Pappas, didn't really even campaign. Like, apparently didn't have like a website or anything. Check this out. AOC, 78.2%, 110,000 votes, got her elected to Congress. Anthony Pappas, the Republican, had 19,202. Guess what? In the primary race, AOC, I wonder if they actually show the primary race in here. Let's go down. AOC in the Democratic primary had 16,898 votes. Joe Crowley had 12,880. I ask you this. What happens when these Republicans register as Democrats, or I don't know if New York is a state where you need to register. I think you do for the primary. I'm not sure. But what do you think happens if you have 19,202 Republicans who know the only way to dethrone AOC is to support a Democrat challenger? I'd be willing to bet these 19,000 or so people, not all of them, because a lot of them are probably just general voters, but a decent amount will come out in the primary and support Cabrera or an opponent. Because listen, in this district, look at that, 78% to 13%, no way is a Republican going to take this district. It's New York City. But a moderate Democrat could. And so those Republicans might actually recognize your best bet is, look, you want to win, you want a slam dunk, grand slam win. You're not going to get a candidate who's a Republican who believes everything you believe. But you want to take as much as you can. I wouldn't be surprised if they recognize that. So think about it this way. Your choice is a moderate or a socialist. And I think a lot of conservatives would be like, dude, I'll take the Democrat over the socialist, right? So check this out. Let's do this. I want to highlight this because it's not the first time a Democrat primary challenge was announced. The thing is, Cabrera is a serious contender with ties to the Democratic Party. He's a council member. This individual, my understanding, is an activist. I could be wrong, but let's read. Just a Democratic activist. Ocasio Cortez primary challenger Badrun Khan comes out swinging in first televised interview. Now, here's the thing. Even though this individual may just be an activist, I don't know what her political career is, it's still serious. There's going to be multiple primary challengers. Now I'll give a warning for those who are trying to dethrone AOC. You might split the primary vote. Think about it. You put her up, you put up Cabrera, and you might get AOC's going to have her celebrity fan base. You're going to need every vote to go towards that one candidate to defeat her in the primary. And if you have two Democratic challengers, this could be good news for Ocasio Cortez, splitting the vote, giving her the slight majority. If they split the vote evenly and every person gets 33%, but AOC gets 33.1, guess what? AOC wins. But if those two candidates challenging AOC, one of them drops out, that means the people who don't like AOC would give all of their votes to the challenger. I don't know what the actual numbers are going to be. It's entirely possible AOC is going to generate a ton of buzz. She's a celebrity. It's also possible that celebrity is offensive to a lot of people. Look, man, I don't know about you. I don't know about the people in our district, but if it were me, I want a representative talking about where I live, not talking about California, not raising money from Californians. To me, that is an egregious violation of what you're supposed to be doing. Why? And it's not just AOC. It's people like Beto and that woman who tried winning in Georgia, whatever her name was. Why are they raising money from outside the state, from outside their district? I get it. You have a right to associate in this country. You know, we're one nation. But if you're supposed to represent New York 14, shouldn't you be raising money in New York 14? I got some really funny information to show you guys, though. This is going to be hilarious. Check this out. Guess who the biggest contributor to AOC is? Why? It's Google Incorporated. Now, I want to stress, these organizations are not themselves donating. The money comes from the organization's PACs, their individual members or employees or owners, and those individuals' immediate families. The biggest, by far, with nearly double the next, Google Inc. Why is that? I genuinely find that strange. Google Inc., the biggest contributor according to Open Secrets as of right now for the 2020 cycle. Incredible. You then have the Machinists Aerospace Workers Union. That's actually pretty cool. Whatever. I'm not surprised the union's supporting her. Celandine and Gay is a law firm, I believe. But then you have Facebook Inc. Facebook is the fourth biggest. Guess what? Amazon.com is the, I believe, sixth largest contributor to AOC. Isn't that weird? Kaiser Permanente? Really, really interesting donations coming in, AOC. Look, I can understand the unions, the law school. I can understand the state of California, Indivisible Action. But man, Google Inc., that's interesting. Now, AOC will talk about all the corporate money coming. She says this guy, Cabrera, is going to take all this corporate money. Excuse me, ma'am. Have you looked at where your contributions come from? Their PACs, their individuals, their employees, their owners, and their immediate families. Now, I get it. I'm not going to claim that AOC is getting money from the big Google machine because the wife of an employee donated to her. But I think it would be important for her to address this because it's entirely possible a large amount of this money does directly come from these corporations or their PACs. So you want to play a game about special interests? Perhaps you should talk about where this money is coming from and be legit about it, right? Be real about it. I do think it's fair to point out AOC's been very, very firm on, raising money from individuals. But in the end, I do find it kind of hilarious that the money's coming in this direction. Now, here's the thing. Let's see if this is okay, yeah, we got the right story here. Virtually no one in Ocasio Cortez's district has donated to a re-election campaign, report says. And this is from 2 months ago. It may have changed, right? The cycle it was still early, but the report was interesting because the squad members, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, most of their donations were coming from outside their districts. Like a lot. And this is reported, so I think this is mostly larger donations. Here's the thing. When they compared the average amount raised in their district using the same standard, the average congressman was raising over $100,000. I think AOC raised like $1,000 or some ridiculously low number in her own district. Check it out. Let's see if they have the number. The FEC only requires that political campaigns disclose the names and addresses of individuals who contribute over $200 to their campaigns during an election. The Daily Caller News Foundation Andrew Kerr reported. The $1,525.50 Ocasio-Cortez received from her New York constituents represents less than 1% of her campaign's itemized contributions reported to the FEC. So, less than 1% of the reported donations she got, over 200, came from her district. Isn't that amazing? And check it out. The average freshman representative's re-election campaign received $107,000 in itemized contributions from their constituents. AOC, in my opinion, she raised 1.4% of that average. I do not believe that AOC is popular in her district. Now, I know the polls say that she's above 50%, I believe. Here's the thing. It's New York City, okay? It's not the poorest of Americans. I understand that people in New York might be living in certain impoverished conditions to an extent because of the cost of living. However, people in New York City are much more likely than people in the rural areas to be able to give her this money. How is it that she's raising just 1.4% of the average for what other freshman representatives were raising? It sounds fishy. Something isn't right. But check it out. Look, I really do mean it when I say that she might actually... Okay, so this is the wrong story. Here's the right one. She might actually lose her seat. This is serious. AOC leading GOP challengers by nearly $500,000 in campaign donations. Hold on a second. Let's check this out. They say Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hauled in an astonishing $1.43 million for her first re-election campaign. GOP donors have collectively given $1 million to the 5 candidates. Let me explain why that's significant. You may be saying, Tim, she raised $500,000 more. She's doing way better. That's 50% higher than the Republicans. Interesting that the Republicans were able to raise, out of all the money raised, right? We've got $2.5 million. AOC has just around like 2/3 of that. That's interesting when you look at how she actually won in that election, or how many votes she got. This says to me that AOC has lit a fire under the moderate and conservative base. So if they're going to raise $1 million, it's comparable. It's okay. They're down 500, right? So she's 50% higher in terms of what she's raised, but that's a dramatic difference. The difference seems to be. I understand votes and money are very different. It's possible that the Republicans just have one guy who, to a PAC or whatever, or you have a bunch of really rich people donating because they don't like her, and she's raising for more smaller people. But the point is, this says to me that while yes, of course, she as an individual has the advantages of being an incumbent and raising all that money for herself, it does show that opposition enthusiasm is quite high. But I won't say it's good news. I will say it's to an extent good news that they're keeping up to an extent. I mean, $1 million is pretty good. In the end, AOC is still winning. Let's be real about that. Now, I'd like to see what Cabrera can raise. That will be interesting. But who knows? Who knows? But let's do this. Let's flip now to the national stage, because I want to say something. We have two big races. AOC is more of a symbolic race in 2020. Trump, I think, is good to go. He's going to win. Now, that may change. Betting odds are changing. It's really slim, but Trump still is the favorite to win. Fine. Incumbent advantage, strong economy, but the impeachment stuff is hanging over. We'll see what happens. But we need to pay attention to AOC's district, because this represents the civil war in the Democratic Party. We know for a fact that in 2018, moderate Democrats did substantially better. In fact, the reason the Democrats won the House is because moderates won in districts that Trump previously held. The far left is not popular. The data shows us. But if AOC wins again, it's going to set a trend moving forward. Or I shouldn't say it'll set a trend, but it's a powerful message that the far left wasn't a fluke and they're here to stay. If she loses, it'll show us just that. It was a fluke. It was an accident. She won through a primary challenge, not a legitimate run. Okay, I get it. Primary is part of the legitimate process, but she won because the district only votes Democrat. John Voight said this: Trump will win 2020. Democrats have no heroes today. He's right. However, AOC may not be running for the president, but she is a hero of the far left. And so that's why she's raising so much money. Let me go back to this story and now present a point that I'm sure a bunch of people were sitting here and saying things like, Tim, you've got it wrong. You miss a very important detail. The important factor in this is that while AOC did raise nearly $500,000 more than the GOP, we know she's raising a lot of money outside the district. That's the important factor that needs to be discussed. Is the GOP raising money outside the district? I don't know. But we do know AOC is substantially below average, like 98.6% below average. Isn't that crazy for fundraising in her own district? I'd be willing to bet a decent amount that Republicans have raised more money in the district than she has. This is why I think she really does stand a chance of losing her seat. I think she won based on the primary, and, we'll see what happens. But I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at youtube.com/TimCastNews starting at 6 p.m. I'll see you all there.